Like the way you whine it, girl.
Sit down and get up.
Way you move your body, move it around, and around, and around, and around, and move it around, and around, and around, and around, move it around, and around, and around, and around, and move it around, and around, and around. Stop, let's dance. You look so sweet tonight in your ballerina tutu. You look so fly tonight in your fishnet high heel shoes. I would want to take a bite from chicken, I like it stew. When you put it on you tonight, you could push it back on me too. To the left, to the left, to the right, to the right. I can see you just whine it, whine it, whine it, whine it, whine. To the front, to the front, to the back, to the back. To the front, and then your eye, move it around, and around, and around, and around, and move it around, and around, and around, and around, move it around, and around, and around, and around, and move it around, and around, and around. Stop, little June.
Sit down and get up.
Like the way you whine it, girl.
Sit down and get up.
Way you move your body, girl.
Sit down and get up.
Like the way you whine it, girl.
Sit down and get up.
Way you move your body, girl.
I like the way you move that thing. You are pinahisi tibulu. Meneyalo. How come a babe, the good the fair run when he say
Move it around, and around, and around, and around, and move it around, and around.
Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good night to each and every one of you. I want to thank you so much for joining us here. It's going to be a town hall meeting coming to you live from Los Angeles. It is called an evening with the leader of the opposition of the in the House of Representatives, Honorable Shine Barrow. This is the sponsored program, and it's going to be brought to you live right here on Radio Belizemix.
Testing.
Reception for the Honorable Shine Barrow, the Belize leader of the opposition party in the House of Representatives of Belize. And we want to welcome our guests and those of our listening audience, both our viewers and our listeners to this, who is watching live on Radio Belizemix. We await this this most momentous time to wait our brother. It was worth the wait.
I'm so sorry I was late.
That's quite fine, brother. You have people here who they love you.
Amen.
And they
Thank
are
you.
patient. There are some
Thank you.
who may have wanted to make it here today, but they are going to listen to our broadcast live. So don't feel bad if you're not going to get to your people, all of them here, but you will be able to have a great viewership listening as far back as in Belize itself.
That's right. And I'll be coming back so we could do something with greater advance notice to give everyone the opportunity to join us in person.
Yes. And we want to get right into it right away to welcome Brother Shine, Moses Shine Barrow to Los Angeles. And without any further ado, we want to ask you, my brother, again, welcome to Los Angeles.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm so blessed to be with my Belizean family in the diaspora. It has always been a very important part of my policy to include the diaspora in everything that we do to develop the nation of Belize. Certainly as a diasporan myself, I know what we have to offer, and I believe the synergy between the Belizeans in the diaspora and those of us at home needs to be the driving force for development of our nation. So certainly, as I am moving about the United States, meeting with Congress, men and women and mayors and presidents of boroughs and etc., there is none more important than meeting with the Belizean diaspora. So I'm pleased to be here.
Thank you very much, Brother Shine. We want to also ask you. We want to also ask you. Give us a history of your life in terms of many people know you as the dynamic rapper that came up and exploded on the music scene so very powerfully and grew so many fans. You attracted so many people that your buzz is still around. But you are more than that. Give our listening viewers and our audience here today, who is Shine Barrow?
Well, I'm a son of the soil, born on Carousel Street in Mesopotamia. I was actually born in the constituency that I represent, call it 123rd, right up the street from Studio 102. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember.
Of course.
That,
Studio 102.
yeah.
We even remember the cottage that your father was a DJ at.
Yes, Carl Thompson, the other member from Mesopotamia, the former deputy prime minister. So I always run the joke with my father that, as far as politics is concerned, I may never meet his level, but certainly as far as music is concerned, he won't meet mine, because I am the musician in the family. He tried, but it didn't quite work out, no? Yeah. So we always have that joke. But no, I'm a son of the soil, grew up, on the south side of Belize City, born. And, my mom came to the States, like many of you and your parents, to find a better life, because things were difficult for her in Belize. She was a teacher and a fairly good softball player. But she came to the United States to find a better life. And I used to visit every summer for a few summers. I think she came here in 1983. And I was living between my aunt, Sister B, and my Uncle Finnegan. I would live, because I was, it was a tug of war. Finnegan wanted me, Sister B wanted me. My father was a single man, so it was felt that it would be better to be in a household, a more stable household. No.
You were raised by the village.
Yes, yes. As right now, I'm being lifted up by the village, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But my mom, on one of the visits to Brooklyn, decided that, I'm not going back. And, who could blame a mother for wanting her child to be with her? And that's how I ended up, moving from Belize to Brooklyn, much to the dismay of my father and my uncle and my aunt and everyone back in Belize, no? But again, who could blame a mother for wanting to have her child with her? And who could blame a son for wanting to be with their mother? So I grew up, like I said, in the South Side, and then moved to Brooklyn and was what you call a latchkey baby. It's funny, one of the congressmen mentioned that term to me, and I thought that was a Belizean term, but it looked like it's a global term. So I was a latchkey baby. My mom worked menial jobs before, becoming a receptionist in the garment district, just to provide for me. As many of us share that story. We all come from Belize to the diaspora, and we try to figure it out. And so, my mom did her best to care for me, and I did my best to make something of myself. I loved music, but I initially wanted to be a professor. I wanted to teach, because I always found myself debating with my uncles at a very young age. And I'll never forget, I was at Finnegan's house, and Faith Bob was there. This, I think, was maybe the 84, or maybe the 89, no, the 84 UDP administration. And I was, maybe 8 or 9 years old, and here I was in big people conversation talking about foreign policy and politics and all kind of thing. I'll never forget that conversation. But I wanted to be a professor because I always had a lot of information. I always read, and I always found myself imparting information to my friends in the community. I grew up in a very crime-ridden, impoverished community on Flatbush, Church Avenue, Newkirk, that area. And but that shifted after I graduated high school in '97. I graduated, and the first thing I did was to borrow my cousin Ronald Hendy. God bless him, he just had a stroke. I borrowed his bicycle to go and deliver messages, because I grew up in a tough neighborhood. I had even gotten shot, and I had promised my mom that I would stay out of trouble, and I would again try to make the best of life and do the best for her and myself. So as soon as I graduated, I enrolled in New York Technical College, New York City Technical College, and I got a job as a delivery boy. And I had always loved music, but my focus was I was going to go to university and become a professor. And as I was delivering packages, all I did was just come up with music. I don't, something just happened. The angels just touched me. And I would be delivering packages to Def Jam, to Universal, to Columbia, to Sony, to all of the record companies who ended up bidding in one of the biggest bidding wars for my talent later on. But that's when it shifted. I got drawn to making music, and I felt that it was my calling, and I felt that I had what it took. As far-fetched as that would be in my circumstance, where there are maybe millions and millions and millions of people in the United States that try to make it in the entertainment business, and only a handful of us ever really do make it. And so I was very fortunate, by the grace of God, to make it. You know, I was able to get discovered right while I was delivering messages and going to university. I would deliver messages all day and go to university in the night. And I was very fortunate to get discovered, and that was it. You know, I went on to win Grammy Awards and nominated for Grammy Awards and American Music Awards, and put out 2 top-selling albums. My first one was #2, the second one was #1. And, you know, I have written and published and performed in over 40 million records. You know, I was just joking with another great artist, Michael Wagner. Yes. A great Belizean musician. And, you know, not because I had the commercial success that I had necessarily means that I am the best Belizean musician. You know, that is debatable. I would say Lord Rayburn is my favorite, Paul Nabor, the great Andy Palacio, Garifuna Collective. Have so many younger artists, C. Wills, Reckless, Super G, Stig the Artist, yeah, T.Y., Tanya Carter, Deja, and so many talented artists. No? But so yeah, so I was able to have that success, and we all know the tragedy that befell me, and you know, where there is tragedy, you know, there is triumph to be found, and I was able to find a triumph within that tragedy by holding fast to my integrity and, you know, my ethics, because all the Belizean diaspora know that I was defending myself, and, you know, the common thread is that I took the rap, you know, I took the fall, you know, because I didn't want to get my friends in trouble to get myself out of trouble. And that requires a great deal of integrity and ethics. But I'm getting ahead of myself in giving too much. I'll let you take back the floor. Yeah. I didn't even get to know my service to Mesopotamia, which is my greatest accomplishment, more so than anything that I've done in music, which is a lot. You know, Michael Wagner and the other Belizean American musicians could tell you, you know, how difficult it is to have commercial success here in the United States. But greater than that is my service to the people of Mesopotamia, and by extension, the people of Belize. There's nothing greater that I could accomplish in my life than to leave a legacy that is one of transformation and one of upliftment and empowerment of the people in Belize. And I know it is something that those of you in the diaspora are very concerned about. You know, we've had 40 years of a vicious cycle of political representatives that get elected and their focus is to enrich themselves and their families, and they leave the Belizean people with nothing. So I don't need to be involved in politics for enrichment or for fame, because I've already had that. And I am dedicated to breaking that cycle with the new era of political leaders. We have many new leaders. I was just on the phone with the Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Anthony Marla, and we were discussing, you know, my trip and scheduling a meeting when I get back so that we could strategize on how, you know, we would translate all of the relationships that I've established into advancing our tourism product, which is Belize. What I say all that to say is that we discussed many things, the South Side, in that conversation about tourism, and we agreed that, you know, we are a new era of leaders, that we will work together for the betterment of Belize and it will not be politics as usual, and that the first and last and everything in between is the Belizean people. So I am very encouraged that the new leadership in Belize that will emerge on both sides of the political spectrum will be one that is service-oriented.
Very much so. That's we had it there from Brother Shine Barrow, and this is our town hall meeting. I am Bilal Morris. I'm the host for today's show. And to our viewers again who are watching live Radio Belizemix, and to our listening audience who are present here today, Brother Shine, who is welcoming you, we want to ask you, you started out in a U.S. tour, started out in Atlanta. What is it that has brought you to the United States in terms of, after being away for a long time, that now wearing the politician hat, what is it that has brought you to the United States, and how much success have you garnered in terms of lobbying political representatives across the United States that you have been so far? Share with us your perspective.
Well, as you all know, recently I was elected by the majority members of the opposition, the House members of the opposition, to be the leader of the opposition, and I take that role very seriously. Prior to that, I was the chief whip of the party and of the opposition in the House of Representatives. But from the moment that I was elected, and even leading up to my election for the great people of Mesopotamia, I had a vision, and my vision was to leverage all of my relationships throughout the world, not just the United States, but certainly this is the center of my vast network. And I had that vision that upon being elected, I would make sure to reach out to my network of friends, to make sure that I could have an audience with my counterparts here in the United States, because, again, Chairman Greg Meeks, the congressman from Queens, he sets the policy for the Western Hemisphere, policy that impacts Belize. I met with him Wednesday on Capitol Hill while they were voting for the John Lewis Act. He was gracious and kind enough to receive me while they were voting. They voted. He came to the House Foreign Affairs Committee room, him and Congressman Jeffries and Congresswoman Yvette Clark, who is actually from my Brooklyn community, and they met with me. But we can't overstate how valuable having that kind of access is to the policymakers here in the States. From that meeting, another meeting will take place with Barbara Lee, who is on the Appropriations Committee and the Foreign Operations Subcommittee. And life is about relationships. Nothing moves without relationships. If I can't call you, if I can't meet with you, you don't know what I want, you don't know what I need, and you don't know if you could help me. And if we don't have a relationship, I won't have access to further what it is that I'm trying to further. So I believe that it is incumbent upon all the leaders in the government, in the opposition, all the members of parliament, to leverage whatever relationships they have outside of Belize for the benefit of Belize. And that is what brings me here to the United States. I met with Rep. Erica Thomas, who led the delegation of Georgia State House of Representative members, and also Dr. Lester Jackson from Savannah. He's the senior Democrat in Georgia. So it was no coincidence that I started in Georgia, because Georgia is the home of the great late Dr. Martin Luther King and John Lewis, freedom fighters, people that fought for civil rights, So you could say that, Georgia was the center, the epicenter. And I have been fighting for my civil rights and my freedom and the freedom of my people in Belize, the economic freedom. Because many of our people, while emancipation took place in the 1800s, are still enslaved, whether economically or mentally. So it was such a great place to start in Georgia, and I'm very thankful. I met with the mayor of Savannah, Van Johnson. I was given the key to Chatham County by the commissioner, and Dr. Jackson gave me a distinction medal and made me an ambassador of the Georgia Senate. And also the Atlanta City Council made August 20th Shine Barrow Day. But all of this is a part of the Belize product. So it's not about Shine Barrow, but these are all people know that have Belize on their radar. These are all people who, because of the tremendous amount of respect, admiration, and honor that they have for me, will now have respect, admiration, and consideration for Belize. And that is why I called Minister Marla today, so that we could discuss how I could leverage these new relationships for the benefit of tourism in Belize.
Very much so. Very, very extensive visit that you had there, Brother Shine, and you came as an ambassador. You have explained to us the networks that you have made in terms of trying to help Belize. As you rightfully said, relationships between nations is very important. We cannot benefit in this world as one nation, especially a developing nation like Belize, if we do not get out there and hustle for our country. And I think
Absolutely.
that you are here doing the same thing, and I hope that here in Los Angeles we have many representatives. We have one representing us here today, which hopefully you will get to meet.
Yes, I had the pleasure of meeting her outside when I was coming in.
So, and we really want to acknowledge Opal Enriquez, who is the owner of Opal's Glow, who actually brought that possible.
Yes.
So
Opal.
I want you to big up yourself.
Opal is
right there.
Opal is an
Very much
outstanding
so.
Belizean in the diaspora doing incredible
very much
things.
so.
Yes.
You have been challenged in terms of the party that had gained power after your father has left power after 3 terms. Your father was one of the most long reigning prime ministers, winning 3 consecutive elections in the United Democratic Party. When you talk about your foreign policy skills and how you had molded yourself as this scholar, in a way, you wanted to be someone who going to the university, and you wanted to be that. I think you have achieved that in terms, but from a different angle. And now that you have achieved that, you are really on the stage. Talk about the process that was presented and the challenge that was made to you in the 11th Amendment in Belize, where the government of Belize, of the People's United Party, was trying to find a way how they can eliminate you or get you out by using that amendment that says that anyone who have served time or been incarcerated any part of the world cannot serve in the House of Representatives. Talk about and share with our viewers that whole situation that went down there.
Yeah, I went to Howard University while I was on Capitol Hill. I met with the Director of International Affairs and the professor and the chairman of the pathology department for Howard, as well as the vice president. But the most compelling meeting that I had was with the dean of the Chadwick Boseman School of Fine Arts, Felicia Rashad. And one of the things, she promised to visit Belize, but one of the things that stuck out in that conversation is she said, Shine, the wealth of a nation is her people. So make sure that you invest in your people, and that is how your nation will develop. She said many other things, and she lauded how rich Belize was and or is, and the fact that we need to get into farming. I thought we were having a African history study rather than fine arts, but she's such a profound and deep woman. But I say all that to say that the 11th Amendment does not recognize the wealth of our people and the value of our people. The 11th Amendment is a Jim Crow law. It is a post, a neo-colonial law. When the enslaved human beings were given their inalienable right to liberty that all human beings should have, they were given nothing. No compensation, no land, no nothing. And basically, they passed laws to incarcerate them for all types of ridiculous violations, to recapture them. And so, when you look at the 11th Amendment, who does that impact? The people from Ibu Town, south side of Belize City. So we have to be very careful when we try to weaponize the Constitution, and we have to look at it not from the lens of Shine Barrow, but look at all the people that would be impacted. There's a young man right now, a young woman right now, that is 18, 17, 19, that will make a mistake. And are we a society that will discard those young people? But it says that the leaders, because not everyone in the cabinet, in the PUP cabinet, supports the 11th Amendment. So let me be clear about that. There are some rogue operators in the Briceño administration that were pushing this ill-advised, unconstitutional 11th Amendment. But not everyone supports it. So I have to be fair. But again, we have to look at it not from the attack on democracy, the direction that the Venezuelans and the Nicaraguan administration, where they're jailing the leader of the opposition. I don't want to even look at it from that perspective, but I want to look at it from the perspective as to who we are as a society and how discriminatory this proposed legislation is. And let us take note that this merely highlights how those in society at the upper echelon really feel about the poor and the underprivileged, who predominantly are people from the south side of Belize City. So make no mistake, when Julius Espat says we have to have standards in the House of Representatives, it's not me that he's talking about. He's talking about we can't have all these south side kids thinking that they could put down the gun and stop being gang leader, but instead be the prime minister. We can't have that because the people need to look like Julius Espat. We have to consider that. What is he saying? Again, people in their desire to personally destroy other people, they miss the forest for the tree or the tree for the forest. They just miss it. So I don't even know if he's really prejudiced, or he's just so disconnected and others that supported this proposal. I just don't know if they get it, but again, that is part of the ramifications of slavery. Because, for so long, people are subjugated, people are trained and forced to be subordinate. And then after that, what was done? No land. You were not taught to be a landowner. You were not taught to be a business owner. You were not taught to be a family, woman and man. After 100 years of raping our women and castrating our men. So, what is happening on the south side of Belize is not a coincidence. It is not that those young men that are killing each other are inferior or have what it takes to be the prime minister, because Dean Barrow was from the south side. But what we need to do as a government, as a society, is to make sure that it is not Dean Barrow being the exception, but it is that every young man and woman on the south side will have the equal opportunity to thrive and succeed. That is what we should be doing. We should be expanding rights. We should be opening the doors of Parliament. Parliament belongs to the people. That is the people's house, not Julius Espat's house and the oligarchs and the rich and powerful that have dominated Belize and extracted all of the wealth and left the people to suffer at the mercy of the wind. It is not their house, it is the people's house. And the people knew my history. They knew what I did when I was 19 years old. Many of them have done that. Even the rich and powerful, they do it. But the difference in Belize is the justice system is weak. And so the rich and the powerful and the oligarchs, they never have to pay their debt to society the way that I have paid my debt and the way that those on the south side are forced to pay their debt to society. So they get away. So now they could come with standards. But the Constitution, as it stands, is that of the Commonwealth Constitution in the UK. And the drafters of the Constitution were deliberate. If you are under a sentence, that would prevent you from going to the House of Representatives to discharge your duty. So the Constitution did not make a mistake. It was not an oversight. It was not a loophole. It was deliberate. The Constitution goes further from the UK throughout the Commonwealth to say that if you are convicted of crimes of public breach of trust and corruption, that you are disqualified, but not in perpetuity. It is a 5-year or a 7-year ban, and then it is up to the people to decide whether or not they will elect you. So for them to propose an 11th Amendment that disqualifies anybody who committed any crime anywhere in the world, talking about communist states, dictatorship states, states where based on your religion, your sexual orientation, all types of reasons would persecute you and incarcerate you. They put forth an amendment that would disqualify you just arbitrarily, wantonly, and takes no consideration for those factors that I just mentioned, and for the fact that that is not what the drafters of the Constitution in the UK or throughout the Commonwealth envisioned. It was just a matter of being available to serve in the House of Representatives, and if you were incarcerated, you couldn't do that. But there was no thought as, oh, we have to have this standard. The Parliament is not a boys' club. It is not an exclusive club. Parliament belongs to the people. So if you don't want the people on the south side to elect someone who made a mistake 23 years ago, then you need to provide opportunity. You need to provide the free education, the investment in housing and in human infrastructure. And the people will elect from among themselves someone that is of themselves. But when you have neglected the South Side and people are forced to live a life of crime in order to survive, how can you then now turn around and discriminate against those people when the criminal justice system works for the rich and powerful and politically connected but doesn't work for them? And again, it is just such a banana republic mentality and policy. That is not the way advanced nations proceed. In the United States, you can run to be president of the United States, whether you were convicted or not. In different states, they do it different. There's
many politicians in the United States who came from the same thing and now serving in
exactly
state governments and local governments.
In D.C., there is a member of one of the commissions who is actually incarcerated and got elected while he was incarcerated, because that is democracy. You know, the constituents decide who will represent them in the people's house, right? You can't, Julius Espat and whoever else was behind this 11th Amendment, they can't dictate who the people will elect. And if you're not satisfied, then put a candidate and let the people decide again. So there are so many things wrong with the 11th Amendment, but the most important is the discriminatory nature of it, the prejudicial nature of it, and it highlights what is wrong with our society, where we don't get it. We don't get that reparations are due, and we need to train and teach our children on the South Side to stop killing each other and stop being engaged in extermination and genocide. And the fact that I have made a mistake at 19 years old and completely transformed my life should be the example that we want to hold to the children on the South Side. We shouldn't want to say to them that once you make a mistake, we're going to criminalize you and penalize you in perpetuity. Then nobody will want to change. Part of the criminal justice system is to convince people to change. That's why it's called a correctional facility. It is to correct yourself and then come out. You know, again, I don't want to compare myself to Philip Goldson. It seems blasphemous. But, you know, the Governor General charged him with sedition. So he was considered a criminal in his time for fighting for what he was fighting for. And we all know I was not a criminal. I graduated high school. I had never been arrested, never been convicted. This was the one and only time that I was ever arrested and convicted in my life in 42 years. And it could happen to anyone.
Well, it happened to Nelson Mandela when he was fighting for his freedom.
Malcolm X, Malcolm X was a pimp
exactly,
and a drug dealer.
Very much so, Brother Shine.
And he's
Tell
one
it
of
like
the most outstanding world leaders. Martin Luther King, you know, his personal life was not perfect. You know, the FBI tapped, you know, his rooms and hotels. And there are many things that came out about Dr. King that, you know, he's not a saint. But that doesn't take away from his fight for freedom and civil rights. So I just think that that is a backward piece of legislation. And my understanding is that the majority of cabinet, the Briceño cabinet, is against it. And
it had to be withdrawn.
Yeah, yes. Yes, the civil society, the churches, the NGOs, the unions, you know, I had been in contact with all of them. But their position is that no legislation should be passed without first convening a constitutional assembly, because it can't be tinkered with. The Constitution can't be tinkered with. That is the supreme law of the land, and there needs to be a bipartisan assembly that will examine and recommend, and then you proceed. Because what happens is, if you don't do it that way, then it becomes arbitrary. It becomes, the Constitution can be weaponized to target political opponents and to discriminate against, you know, an entire class of people.
That's right. There you have it again. I'm Bilal Morris. This is welcoming in a reception, a town hall meeting with the Honorable Shine Barrow. leader of the opposition in the House of Representatives of Belize. We have heard our brother explain to us his journey and his work in terms of trying to help to make a difference, coming from opposition and trying to make a difference in his country amongst most of all the most disenfranchised and the marginalized people in the country of Belize, which are black people. Brother Shine, you served as the musical ambassador of Belize at one time.
Yes.
Before your surge into political office, you also serve as Belize's musical ambassador under the leadership of your father, who is the 3-time Prime Minister of Belize, that's Dean Oliver Barrow. Talk about your work in terms of the musical ambassador, and then also give us what is it that has come out of this trip, this tour of the United States, that you would like to take back to Belize in further helping out those young, aspiring Belizean artists who are struggling down in Belize in trying to find markets, and so on. Share with us that process.
Well, you know, you talk about direct benefits. TMZ was just outside waiting for me. They have viewership of millions and millions and millions of people across America and the world. And I would just plug Michael Wagner. There's a great artist that's here right now. Remind me of your name, young man? Huh?
Little June.
Yeah, Little June. Yes. He's
very talented.
Extremely talented, Little June. And so again, I don't know what other Belizean has the reach that I have when it comes to the audience of millions and millions of people. And you know, TMZ has been hunting me down since I got to the States. They tried to find me in Georgia, tried to find me in New York, and finally I relented and told them, listen, I'll be here. But again, so that wasn't about me. Michael Wagner just got exposure. Who's the mayor's brother? The mayor of Belize City, by the way.
Yes. Yes.
And again,
big up the Honorable Bernard Wagner.
Yes, but
Belize
again,
City Council Mayor.
This is a demonstration of my philosophy and how I think. Belize first. Yes. I don't see PUP and UDP. I see Belize. And so I know Michael Wagner is an extraordinary Belizean musician. And so I made sure he was on camera with me on TMZ. So when you talk about direct benefits, the direct benefit is you can't even quantify it. The Belize product is on full display every radio station that I go, every interview that I do, whether it be The Hill, whether it be the New York Times, whatever it is, R.A. Melba, whatever it is, it's always about Belize. So there are direct benefits that are happening just with the exposure of Belize. Every interview I talk about the Belizean artists, the very many talented Belizean artists, so people will go and Google them and go and check them out on iTunes. And for 10 years as the ambassador of music, again, you know, it is not as if I was a computer scientist and Prime Minister Barrow made me the ambassador of music. It is not as if I lived in the States and I was an aspiring musician. We have to be fair. We have to be fair and truthful. And when I say it, it is oftentimes misunderstood for hubris. But you cannot deny me my reality, which is as a professional musician, I am the most commercially successful Belizean musician and one of the most successful American musicians. Many rappers come out and never sell one album. No matter where they're from, whether they're from the Caribbean diaspora or they were born in the States. There's no guarantee to make it in the entertainment business. So the fact that I made it on such a high level, and you can see that the way my contemporaries are still receiving me. Indeed. And still so happy to see me. You can see the impact that I had in the music realm. So that is why Prime Minister Barrow appointed me the ambassador of music and the creative sector. And for those 10 years, from 2010 to 2020, I took my job so serious. You know, my wife would argue with me because I spent all my money and all of my time with music and Mesopotamia. And so I was very dedicated as an ambassador of music. I helped so many of the new artists, the C. Wills, you know, the Coconut Boys, you know, the legendary artists, the Super G's, the Reckless. Every artist I have helped. Stick the artist, T.Y., Deja, no matter the genre, I have helped every single artist. If they did not get help from me, it's because they didn't ask or they caught me at the time of some budgetary restraint. But, you know, through my 10 years, I can boast the Music Week that we did every year. I would give about 100 artists from all across Belize a platform. And the last one I did was before COVID. And the type of money that I invested personally, because the government, I never got a salary. I didn't get a budget until 2016, 2015. Started at about 40,000, and then it went up to 100,000. That is no money to take care of the music industry. So I invested my own money, and thanks to supporters like Michael Bowen and other philanthropists. But I was able to invest in the musician on such a high level, whether it be the stage, the lighting, the marketing, the promoting. I treated the Belizean musicians the way the promoters treated the foreign musicians. And I am very satisfied with the contributions I made. The Garifuna Collective, they were invited to go to Womex, and they needed the money. I helped raise $30,000 for the Garifuna Collective.
That's the Andy Palacio
Yes.
tour.
Yes. This was in 2018. Because they had been reaching out to the president of Niche. She had been ignoring them. They've been knocking on all doors. And I was able to go to the CEO of BTL and go to this one and go to that one and put up my own money from the Office of the Music Ambassador so that they could go to Womex and perform. And that led to a global tour, because that is why you go to Womex, to make the connections and build a network and relationships.
That's where Andy Palacio received the Womex Peace Prize. Yeah.
Yes. So these are all things that you can't dispute, and it is a legacy that I left behind. So many new artists, as I said, and I was diverse in my approach. Because even in one of my favorite towns in Dangriga, the culture capital, not all the young musicians are performing Garifuna music. So you can't exclude them. You have to include them. And I look forward to a hybrid from young men like Darren Sabal and Papa John Sabal, because they're more into like the dancehall. And maybe they could mix it up and do a dancehall Garifuna thing and, you know, pay tribute to their heritage while embracing the culture of dancehall hip-hop that they love. And I think that was a very important policy shift. Whereas before, the administration would focus on culture music exclusively, you know, the Creole and the Garifuna. But there's so many other forms of music, the Mestizos, the Maya. But then we have to deal with the urban contemporary that the young people are driven to. And if we are trying to save our young people, the creative industry is always one of the safe havens for young people.
The arts.
Whether they make it to be successful just in the journey, it could be the difference between life and death. So investing in the arts is so very important, and that is what the dean of Howard University School of Fine Arts was impressing upon me.
This very institution that you sit in here, this
Yeah.
town hall is held, is a music academy. This is a music
great
academy.
place! What a great place
So
to
we
have this
found
town
that it
hall.
was
Yes.
a perfect theme for you,
Amen.
that you come from that. And
Amen.
we want to thank Tanya
Amen.
Barrow for giving
Thank
us
you,
that.
thank you, Tanya
That's
Barrow.
the sister of the dynamic musical producer Marlon Cards Barrow
Yes.
that produced YG. And
That's my
Iggy
family,
Azalea.
right?
And they would hope
Yeah.
that they would give you'll get a visit to the studio
Definitely.
afterwards to meet with Marlon. Yeah.
Which is the Barrow that does all the festivals and
And the father is Patrick Barrow. He's the
the
brainchild
legendary,
of the Belize, yes,
the
of the Belize Ski
iconic
Fest.
Patrick Barrow. So,
That's right. Yeah.
well, maybe I could joke with my father that in the immediate family,
No relation,
in
right?
Belize, no, it have to be all Barrow related. With a family.
So,
Yes, man. But I say I will prefer the best musician in the Barrow tree to the great Patrick Barrow. No, so
indeed. Respect to
I
Patrick
bow- I
Barrow.
bow
Big up
to
Patrick
you.
Barrow. Give a
Yes.
hands of applause there. Patrick
and
Barrow.
he has done so
Great.
much.
The Belize Ski Fest.
Yes, with the festivals. Yes,
Yes,
for so
the
many
Belize
years, for
many
decades.
years,
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we would
yes.
have hoped that one day, when you were at your peak of your career, you would have come
Well,
to
you know,
and perform at the Key Fest.
I had a short,
Yeah.
I had a short window.
Yes,
People don't realize, you know, I signed in '98.
very much.
I
so.
visited Belize in August. I signed in March and I went to Belize in August. Came back trying to get my career on track. You know, the incident happened and I had to focus on making my album. And my album dropped in October, and by March I went away. So there was really no time for me to use, you know, my new stardom in the music world to perform at Key Fest, etc. But certainly we will look forward and we will work together now to put things where they're supposed to be, as far as bringing the Belizean musicians to the States, and me using my brand and name recognition to make sure that all the Americans, not just the Belizean Americans, but all Americans, come to our festivals and enjoy our Belizean music and our Belizean culture.
Very much so. Thank you very much so much, Brother Scheinbauer. Give him a round of applause, everybody in the audience and viewers. We hear it. And we want to sort of ask a final question to you in terms of the Belizean diaspora that has so warmly welcomed you in your
Yes,
U.S.
thank
tour.
you. Thank you so very much. In New York, in Georgia, here, Chicago, I'm coming. Florida, I'm coming.
Wow.
Wherever there are Belizeans,
You are not done yet. You're
I
heading
will
for
be
there.
coming. Well, I'm going back home.
Yes.
I'm going back home in a few days. I have to get back home to my wife and my daughter and my constituents, and you know, I've been paying attention to all that's happening with COVID, and you know, we're still in an economic crisis, and you know, we have all types of, you know, murders and crime taking place, and so it is not lost on me that home affairs is certainly even more important than foreign affairs, but the foreign affairs that I'm trying to deal with will have an impact on home affairs. So we have to be able to do both, but certainly I need to get back, but I will be back in October. I think my mic is good, or change it? All right, yes. So I will be back, I'll be back in October, and so I will try to get to Chicago, and I have a trade conference. The commissioner of Broward County invited me as the guest of honor to the trade conference in November. So I'll be, you know, foreign affairs is very important to the development of Belize. So as I said, I'll be using my leverage as much as I can to advance Belize. And again, in my conversation with Minister Marla, he told me that they will be going to various,
Various
states,
yes, they
as
did.
well. I know
Yes.
they have something planned for Florida in October. So I'm happy that it is not just the opposition that is engaging the diaspora. I am happy that the government is doing it. Minister Marla, again to his defense, said that he had been working on the diaspora desk because he's the Minister of Diaspora Affairs, and he had wanted to get out here since he got elected. But he had been bogged down by bureaucracy. Whereas, I am paying for my trip. The taxpayers aren't paying for my trip. Myself and my generous friends are financing my trip.
Yes,
So
yes.
I didn't have to wait for any type of approval from the government. So to his defense, he has pledged that he will be visiting all the states, and so it's good that the diaspora will now benefit from a common interest in their opinion, in their contribution to Belize from the government and the opposition. So I'm happy for that.
Yes. So do you see finally, just as a wrap to that, the government that is in power and you sitting on the side of the opposition, there is a way where your visit now can present a sort of a pressure to get them going in making the diaspora a part of the development of Belize. I mean, it's been so many years that we've been hustled for campaign and all of that. So this is a golden opportunity now. Shine is here.
Yeah.
The elected leader of the opposition in the House of Representatives that can put pressure on the government in power to say true that you have a diaspora initiative now. First, during the 3 terms of your father, there was a diaspora desk, but we never did saw meaningful results.
Yeah.
People in the diaspora, or people in the diaspora are waiting to be properly brought in the development of their country. They have been staked out like you in 11th Amendment with the 7th Amendment, that no Belizean who have swayed allegiance to a foreign flag.
It's so ironic
right?
that they would disqualify the Belizean Americans because of their allegiance outside of the Commonwealth, because they could have citizenship from any nation in the Commonwealth. Yet they want to disqualify me and others because of something that happened outside of the Commonwealth. So they can make up their mind. But again, I believe that is the rogue few in cabinet and not the majority in the cabinet. But I am very happy that Minister Marla, I see the Deputy Prime Minister, Cordell Hyde, the Honorable Cordell Hyde, who again I have a strong relationship with, and the Honorable Henry Charles is going to be on that trip, visiting the different diaspora, the large diaspora, Belizean diaspora that we have. So I'm just happy, and this is what it's supposed to be. We're supposed to inspire each other. We're supposed to be the driving forces to lead and to serve our people. So I am happy that I made it a priority to visit with the diaspora.
Taking the lead, Brother Shine. You're taking the lead. And
I wasted no time.
Indeed,
and they're already taking their steps, and I plan to my minister, my senator, my shadow minister and senator, Honorable Michael Perfit, and my shadow minister for tourism and diaspora affairs, the Honorable Tracy Pantan, will join me on the other treks. So when I return, I will make sure that they come with me, and we will continue to engage the diaspora. And I'm happy. I told Minister Marla that I welcome their aggressive push to engage the diaspora. It was a part of their manifesto, to have a diaspora affairs ministry, and I'm happy that they followed through on that. Don't want to be too political. I wish they would follow through on all of the other policies, but I will refrain. I won't digress because, again, it is not about I don't want to use this platform to bash the administration.
Indeed, yes,
I prefer to use this platform to discuss the things that we agree on and how we can work together for the benefit of the Belizean people. And as I said, the majority members of the cabinet, the Briceño cabinet, don't support the 11th Amendment, and Minister Marla and his ministry are going to be engaging the diaspora, and so I'm very, very happy for that. And Minister Marla and I will be working together to make sure that all of the relationships that I have made, we use that to market and to sell the Belizean product of tourism. I look forward to meeting with Michael Wagner's brother, His Worship Mayor Wagner, so that the proposed sister relations with Newark, with New York City, Eric Adams, who is now the Brooklyn Borough President, he will be the mayor in November of New York City, and he's agreed to make Belize City a sister city. So I will discuss that with the mayor when I return, and we will strategize on how to best capitalize on the vast network that I have to promote and market Belize.
Very much so. Thank you so much, Brother Shine. And finally, would you have any final words for viewers or listeners and for our present audience? What would you like to leave in the final words on in this town hall, which is very historic?
Yes.
You are one of the first Belizeans that have gone into political office, that have come out here on your own in terms of a fact-finding mission and embrace the diaspora. What would you like to leave with us here in the Belizean diaspora across the entire United States?
You know, certainly the other elected members in the House of Representatives and my senators and the 31 constituency leaders, I've reported, I give them daily reports as to all of my meetings and all of my endeavors, and they're all very supportive. They're all pleased whenever I tell them I'm going to meet with the Belizean diaspora. So certainly the United Democratic Party extends its warmest wishes and warmest embrace to the Belizean diaspora wherever you are. And we appreciate you and we value you. And I believe, according to my conversation with the Minister of Tourism and Diaspora Affairs, they feel the same way. And so we embrace the diaspora, we love the diaspora, we are all one Belizean family, regardless of your geographic location. Belize is in all of us. I know the American audience that I have, they make fun of me, how I go in and out of my dialect. Because right now I could start talk Creole and, they say, but what's wrong with Sean? Because then I could get into my American thing, right? But most of you in the diaspora, for your tongue hard, you could tell immediately they still the talk Belizean.
Yes.
which I love. I love that.
Yes.
I love that because that means, and I'm talking people that have been here for 20, 30 years, bless me, Granny Esme talk hard Creole till the day that she left to go to heaven. She's from Honduras too, which a lot of people don't know that, I have Garifuna heritage. And due to racism and discrimination, that is something that was hidden and not made public. She changed her name from Diaz to Dias. But I am proud of my Garifuna heritage as well as my Maya and Creole heritage, because my granny Aina was Maya as well. No, but so I say all that to say that one thing with the Belizean diaspora, they don't forget Belize. They come to Belize all the time. They send remittance to Belize. They are heavily invested in Belize, and we appreciate that, and we look forward to strengthening that relationship. But the one request that I have is that you write your congressmen, you write your U.S. senators, and tell them to put Belize on the agenda. We want more investment. We want more opportunities. We want an ambassador. They haven't put the Trump administration did not put an ambassador. I hope that the Biden administration will put an ambassador. I will make my way to the White House soon. I'm speaking that into manifestation on behalf of the Belizean people. But write your congressmen and women and your U.S. senators and tell them you want a greater relationship with Belize and the United States. We are appreciative of the relationship that we've had for the last 40 years, but we want to see it expand. We want to see it greater. We want to see greater investments. And that it helps my push when you, the Belizean diaspora, wherever you are writing your congressmen, women, and senators. So please do that.
We want to thank you, the Honorable Moses Shine Barrow. We don't want to carry you on too long.
I was late, so I have to make up for.
Yeah, very much so. I feel that you have covered all grounds in terms of the message that you have brought here to us.
Yes.
And on the behalf of most of the organizers, I want to thank Verlene Pitts.
Thanks Verlene Pitts.
Verlene Pitts, who helped organize
thanks
this event.
Joseph Bradley.
Yes,
was a part of the.
Very much so.
I have a diaspora affairs desk in the office of the leader of the opposition.
Very nice.
And so it is a policy that the diaspora will be engaged at every opportunity. And just on a last note, in addition to writing your U.S. senators and congressmen, just please keep us in prayer. We're dealing with difficult times. Certainly keep me in prayer so that as the leader of the opposition, we can mount a fierce opposition and hold the government accountable. Because while I have been kind and I've been polite, part of democracy is accountability. And so we need a strong opposition to make sure that the government is doing what is in the interest of the public, not in the interest of family and friends and cronies, but what is in the interest, the best interest of the public. And so keep us all in prayer. Keep the Prime Minister in prayer, that he leads his cabinet and his administration to do what is best for the Belizean people, and keep the leader of the opposition in prayer so that we, along with the elected members in the House and my senators, can hold the government accountable and be a strong check and balance.
We are sure that you will be really leader of the whip in terms of in the House as the leader of the opposition. Again, Brother Shine Barrow, Moses Shine Barrow, I want to thank you, the Honorable Shine Barrow, leader of the opposition in the House of Representatives of Belize. We also want to thank all the people who help organize.
Yes, thank you all for coming out.
And those who came out, most of all.
Yes.
We want to acknowledge very much so Opal Enriquez again, who was able to bring the representative.
DJ Twin. He's here, my fellow musician, Little June.
Little June, we have
the great Michael Wagner.
The man behind the controls,
the great
Radio
Belizemix. Yes, Radio Belizemix.
Will Johnson, the awesome musician also.
Yes, Radio Belize.
DJ Mark Hyde from M&H Songs System.
Mark Hyde.
Stone Jam's brother.
It's you that won the Grammy, or it's your family?
No, his brother. He's a musician with Ziggy Marley.
Yes, and
he's a keyboard player. He won the Grammy.
Yes.
And Stone Jam also.
We have a lot of talented
indeed
musicians, regardless of what the Prime Minister Briseño had said, there's a lot of talent.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. A lot of politically astute people in the audience as you talk about write your Congress people. Congresswoman Karen
Yes.
Bass said
Yes.
that the Belizeans in Los Angeles are the largest black
What's the name of the
immigrant-
representative that is here?
Karen, her name is, we'd like her to introduce herself. Go right ahead and take a stand, my sister.
Well, I don't want to put her on the spot, but what's the
Yeah.
name? What and what? Okay, yes, the representative for Baldwin Hills and View Park. Thank you so very much for coming. That's Dr. Latrice Gardner. Thank you so very much for coming, and we'll continue after this. I'm sure Opal will take me to dinner along with you, and we can continue to talk about how we can strengthen the relationships. I can't forget to say that I met with Auntie Maxine Waters. I met with her on Capitol
you
Hill.
Met with Maxine Waters,
Yeah,
brother, you met with the most heaviest person
yes,
that represents
yes.
South Central Los Angeles.
Yes, I met
Yeah.
with her, and she held me in her office for a good 45 minutes.
Very nice, brother Shine.
Yeah, so we can't
Yes.
forget Auntie Maxine. I know you guys have a recall coming up. I am a part of the Democratic Union, so I'm a Democrat. I urge the Belizean diaspora to vote no and make sure that they don't recall your governor, because
right.
that will be disastrous to me for the State of the Union.
Very much
So please make sure to vote no on the recall.
Did you get a chance to meet Congresswoman Karen Bass that represent the Belizeans in the diaspora? She said that the Belizeans in the diaspora in Los Angeles are the largest black immigrant group.
Okay, yes.
And when I asked her how you know that, she says because they vote for me in my
All right,
constituency.
I certainly
So that is,
will meet her on the next
Yeah, and
the
there they
next
are.
trip.
Those are the people who vote for her.
Yes,
Congresswoman Karen Bass.
Yes.
Belizeans.
But
yeah.
make sure no vote no in that recall, because
Very
it will
much.
be disastrous
No recall of
if
the
they
governor.
recall the governor. No.
Very much so.
All right. So thank you all. Thank everyone who joined us live on Facebook, and hello to my daughter Naomi and my wife and my in-laws and all my family and friends and the beautiful people in Mesopotamia and all my colleagues in the opposition.
Again, Brother Shine, Moses Shine Barrow, I want to thank you
Thank
for
you, Brother
coming in
Bilal.
and making it possible.
Yes, good
Thank
to
you
be
very
here.
much. And to our listening audience, thank you very much for coming out. Good night.